Welcome to the Buff Show on the American Adversaries Radio Network from the Appeals Law Group. That's where we're broadcasting from, House Scott McGarrow. You can visit them on appealslawgroup.com to get the coverage and representation you need. And of course, we're brought to you in conjunction with the American Adversaries Radio Show, and you can listen to that show live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Sunday through Friday at AmericanAdversaries.com, or if you're here in Central Florida, over the airwaves at 94.9 FM or AM 950. And of course, I'm Matt Buff, and I'm joined by the host of the American Adversaries Radio Show, philosopher and political mad scientist Christopher Hart. Good to see you again, man, for part 2 of this week's segments.
All right, how you doing, Matt?
Oh, doing great. You know, we ended part 1 talking about, you know, the virus and some other things like that. They've talked about how, you know, there's over 40,000 people dead, and that's with strict lockdowns, and we know that's been embellished a little bit. We'll talk about the real number of that, but, you know, hospitals all over are actually losing money because they're not allowing outpatient services. And Chris, I wanted to jump right into not just herd immunity and other things like that, but you talked about on the last show a potential cure.
Actually, it's a surefire cure, at least for our political woes. If you don't want the coronavirus to go away from your news screens and from everywhere else, don't elect Donald Trump. In other words, this is all about the election, ladies and gentlemen. This is not about the virus when it comes to the left. You think if Nancy Pelosi really was compassionate, she would be showing off her $24,000 refrigerator and bragging about all her gourmet ice cream? That is the ultimate of cruelty. That she's
it's like rubbing it in.
Right. And so you can tell that she's not compassionate or concerned about the virus. She's concerned about politics. And even though that was a stupid move visually, what she understands is that is rubbing the right's nose in it. She's rubbing conservatives' nose in it. She's letting smart people like us know that she knows it's all a fraud and a scam, that it's all about the politics of it. By the way, today is the 22nd, I believe. Let me double check on this.
22nd of
April 22nd.
Yes.
As of this morning, there were slightly over 45,000 deaths in America. We'll get to the numbers here in a minute. But the deaths are still going up, but the rate has dropped off dramatically. The peak, we now know, was weeks ago in most locations and maybe months ago in others. But the point is what the left has done is that they have turned this into the ultimate of political issues. You know, we've talked on the show before early on about how politics is a lot like professional wrestling. And that's not meant to make fun of anybody or anything. It's meant to explain it. Because what professional wrestling turns on, what makes it work, what makes it get over, as they say in the business, is that it's all about the conflict between good and evil. Now, in professional wrestling, they purposely set up the good guys and the bad guys,
yes,
right?
Heels versus the face.
Right.
And it does make for more interesting television.
Obviously. And it does for more interesting politics, too. And you see this with both sides. We often call it the blame game. Well, the blame game is to make the other guy the villain and you the good guy. And that's whoever can do that the best usually wins.
Who can control the status quo and the narrative?
Yeah, what was one of the main chants that you had at the Trump rallies during the 2015-2016 campaign? Remember?
Lock her up.
That's right. So it was all about she's the villain. And she made a pretty good villain, you have to admit. And
when you have hammers and bleach bit and weapons, I mean, that is a good villain.
It makes making the case a little bit easier, yeah.
For those who don't know, as clearly we're talking about Hillary Clinton here, but go ahead, Chris.
Obviously. And so what the left is doing here is they're trying to vilify Donald Trump, but and by the way, they use the old tried and worn out play, but they still get yardage off of it, and that is the conservatives. They're trying to kill people, right? You remember Bush lied, people died. You remember that routine.
Oh, yes.
Newt Gingrich was going to, make your grandma was going to have to eat dog food. Paul Ryan was going to be pushing your grandma off the cliff. Well, this is taking that a step farther, because not only now are they saying that Donald Trump is killing people, the argument is going to be he's trying to kill you. Okay? And especially as he reopens the economy, reopens the country. He doesn't care. He's the killer. They've already come out with the storyline, Pelosi and Chris Murphy. Oh, the calamity that we're going through, the pain, the suffering, the deaths. This isn't China's responsibility. It's Donald Trump's. And Nancy Pelosi.
And if you step outside, you might die.
Yeah, because he was incompetent and because he delayed, people died. Well, now they're going to turn that around and say because he's incompetent and because he moved too quick, people die. And so this is the ultimate campaign issue. I call it now the life or death election, because the way they're going to present it is, if you want to live, elect Biden or whoever the person is going to be. There's some speculation there.
You're still not completely sold that it's going to be Biden.
Well, now we picked Joe Biden.
Yes, I know you did.
Right.
I know we picked Joe Biden, but I'm telling you, there still might be some movement.
All right, but the point is going to be to say that if you don't want to kill people, elect the Democrat nominee, Biden or whoever. If you're callous and you don't care about people and you want people to die, elect Donald Trump. And that's what this is all about.
War III with Iran, elect Donald Trump.
Well, they don't even have to go there. See, this is the ultimate. This is the ultimate good versus evil argument.
Yeah.
Not only is Trump killing people, he wants to kill you, is what they're going to be saying. They're already saying that. They'll just say it even more and more directly as Election Day approaches. And of course, in the meantime, they're going to still come out with all the bad news that they can come up with, all the sad stories that they can come up with, and there'll be plenty to find. And the economy is probably going to take a while to get going again.
Well, especially if you're opening restaurants at 20% capacity. That is not a true open. Restaurants can't survive with things like that. So how fast do you think that this opening, like in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, are the three states that are looking at an April 30th start date?
Well, actually, Georgia is going to start as of this Friday, which would be the 25th. And then the other states be on or before April the 30th. Alaska, you can include in there. So it's actually 5. It would be Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alaska. And by the way, don't forget there is 8, I believe, states out there that never did the shut-in order. And so,
notably North Dakota, which people are saying they're praying for a hot spot. When you talked about how they want destruction, and they want it on North Dakota, but it's just not happening, folks.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because you remember after the 2016 election, if you looked at an election map, the red versus blue, you would see almost all of the country is red. But you had solid blue spots on the West Coast, California, New York, Northeast, down around Miami.
Areas, yeah.
All right. If you actually look at a COVID-19 map, it's almost identical. That where the strong blue spots are is where you're having the hot spots. And the other spots are just sporadically placed here and there, but most of the map is clean.
You can see it right here, and it's amazing. When you look at the maps, Chris, that is a phenomenal point. When you look at the map, you're also looking at places where they have the strongest Democrat leadership and strongest Democrat strongholds.
Right.
It's not a coincidence, folks.
The blue has got the flu, and it's a sad coincidence if it is that. But I tell you what, we'll have to talk more about the numbers, and we got to talk about what Attorney General Barr has been talking about.
You know, we talked about some of the things he mentioned with draconian measures. Wait till you hear what he has to say next.
Yep.
And if the blue went and got you and put you in jail for a crime you didn't commit, make sure you visit the lawyers at House Scott Magaro. Visit appealslawgroup.com. And don't forget to listen to the American Adversaries radio show. All right? This is the podcast. You can listen to the radio show every Sunday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's live, folks.
That's right.
And it's on AmericanAdversaries.com. And, of course, if you're here in Central Florida, you can catch that show on AM 950 or FM 94.9. And that will do it for this segment. But stay tuned. We got a lot more for you. This is Matt Buff and Christopher Hart saying, stay smart out there.